Tim Black. Tim Black. Tim Black. Yes, I am. Truth. Funny. Tim Black. I am TimBlack.com. Tim Black.
Where is the... Like my head, I feel like my head's getting cut off, man. Hey guys, how you doing? It's your man Tim Black. Thank you so much for tuning into the Tim Black at Night show. What is going on? How y'all feeling? All right. I'm hoping everybody's pretty good. You know, it's been crazy the last couple of days, as I'm sure you're aware. I mean, I don't know what's going on with you, but on the internet, it's been a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So, as you know, I got a guest scheduled for tonight. It's Michael A. Wood, former police department policeman from Baltimore, and he's doing so much. He's done so much to try to push the conversation about what's needed in our policing. And you know, Michael's been on the show before. He's a friend of the show. I consider him a friend, and just a great conversation that we had. So as you know, he went to Standing Rock, and he led a group of veterans there to defend and help the water protectors. And that's what he's about. And he's about progress. He's about forward thinking. He's about the people. He's about humanity. He also is about making the country a better country, the world a better world through policing and different ways to handle policing. So unfortunately, though, I can't reach him. I'm just keeping it real. I can't reach him. And that could be so many different things, right? From travel to a computer issue to whatever. So, but what I've done is I left the door open, and I DM'd him and his people as well, letting them know, hey, you got what you need, just join into the conversation. But I haven't talked to my people in a while, so I want to talk to my people, and I don't want to wait any longer. So I wanted to talk to you guys. So let me go into the chat room and see who's in the house. Tim Black's Wolf Pack. Let's see who's out there, man. I know I saw Brian Crosby earlier and Ditsy Lil G. They were already in the house nice and early. I appreciate you guys being on deck. I see Jenny Lynn in the house. Jilly Love. Truth can't be silenced. Truth can't be silenced. Thanks for the words of support, my friend. The C, the Sean, Mark, Paul. The Sean, Mark, Paul, Jeffrey Pearson, doing good. Dim still suck. Wow, I can't argue, man. But you know what? It's not about all of them, right? Like, there's good people everywhere you go, right? We got a few, you know? In fact, there are Dems. There are Democrats in little districts all across this country that are really good people, man. I just think the ones they put on TV, a lot of times, it's the establishment. You know, or at least they're the ones that are going to say the right thing about the establishment. They're not going to challenge the status quo. So that's what you get to see. What's up, Mary Stanford, Low Key, Ulrike? What's up? Jake Smith. Bon Kim is in the house. Bon Kim, I was trying to do a stream on Facebook too, man. You got to walk me through how I do a Facebook stream from this YouTube stream, because I should be able to do that like you do that. With a second PC, I should be able to stream to Facebook so they can get the real content with the real audio and be able to see my guests as well. So you got to walk me through, man. Look, guys, if you don't know, Bon Kim, man, this is like my partner in crime. He's my tech lead plus my business partner when it comes to, like, we have some stuff cooked up, man, we're trying to do. We're trying to change media is what we're trying to do. We're trying to change independent media, and Bon Kim and I, we're partners in that. Give it up for Bon Kim, y'all. He is a strategist. He's also a really good guy who happens to be a proud new father of a baby girl. So that's fantastic, Bon. And I would like for you to cut some of your time away from your child and help me get my streaming right. Come on, man. You're my tech guy. You're my tech guy. I don't want to hear about your personal problems. Joking. You know I'm joking, Bon. He's also the host of After Hours. The Broken Carpenter's in the house, man. Get up for the Broken Carpenter. Get up. My man, the Broken Carpenter, I I met Broken Carpenter in Philly, man, and ever since then, man, it's just my guy. He was my guy before I met him, then I met him. So that's how it works, guys. We're cool right now, right? Tim Black's Wolfpack, I'm cool with all you guys, right? Even the trolls. But then when we meet in person, it goes to another level because now we've pressed flesh. You know, you got a bear hug, that man hug or that woman hug in there, and now we're in another level. And now he's like helping moderate the chat. I mean, come on. Then he calls up and he makes interesting comments. Come on, man. What's there not to love about TBC? Give it up for TBC. Eric in the house. Eric in the house. Eric in the house. You know, I'm just calling to say I really love the Tim Black Show. And H.A. Goodman, you're just a great guy, H.A. I love you guys. Eric is the best freaking fan you could ever have. Fan, supporter, follower, whatever you want to call it. Gotta have your back. Because Eric's going to be around. It could be 3:30, right? In the morning, guys. And I'll tweet something. And Eric will like it. I'm like, Eric, go to bed, man. I'm not supposed to be up. You're not supposed to be up. None of us are supposed to be up, man. So that's what happens. I'm still waiting on Michael. Let me show. Look, I got time. Shout out some more people. Susan Mercurio. I love it, man. What's up, Susan? How you doing? Good to see you. My friend. Jonathan Milton's in the house. He back. Angry Cascadian. I love it, man. Why are you so angry, Angry Cascadian? What's up, Angry Cascadian? Surreal. What's up, Surreal? How you doing, bro? Good to have you back, man. Thank you for being a part of the Wolf Pack. My friends. Q DeMayo. What up, Q? Q's my friend, man. He's rocking that no sellout shirt right about now. You gotta love that, man. What's up, Q? How you doing? Oh, he's commenting on my Jerobu Hill video. Yeah, there it is, guys. Yes, your brother Tim Black was at the United National Anti-War Coalition Convention in Richmond, Virginia. I was in the house. I was there. I was representing. And it was amazing. And Jerobu Hill is an amazing pillar of resisting imperialism and fighting for humanity. She's on the Mississippi United Humanities. Humanity, God, I don't want to get it wrong. It's an organization in Mississippi that fights for the rights of the workers in Mississippi. And they don't just talk about money, it's about humanity. So I released a video where she gave this outstanding speech. It was short, but it was hard hitting. It was real. And I want everybody to go check it out. It's on my YouTube channel. You should be able to see it. If you didn't get an alert, you need to start hitting that little bell. Hit the little bell, guys.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hit the little bell so you can get my alert so you can check out the videos because I want to share more content from the Peace Summit or the Anti-War Summit, which was also a summit against repression, oppression, and imperialism. So check that out. It's amazing. Great people, by the way. Who's in the house? Whose house? AC Yours house. What's up, AC Yours? How you doing? I appreciate you, AC. You know I see you out there having my back in comment sections across the internet, brother or sister. I want you to know, AC Yours, I appreciate it. I noticed that you are definitely very vocal, and I appreciate that because, you know, a lot of times people talk about what they hate. They don't talk about what they love. They don't talk about what they care about. So the hate sometimes drowns out the love. So I want to thank you for, you know, being you and talking about what you care about, which is this show, and having my back on these issues because you know how I get into it with people. So can we talk a little bit since we just, you know, talking, right? And I'm shouting people out. Continue to talk in the comment section, and I'll keep shouting people out as I glance over. So, look, I'm not going to make it – I'm not out to make a career of debating people on YouTube or debating people on their radio shows or their talk shows. That's not the deal, right? But I did have some choice words for Sam Cedar. Now, you know, Sam Cedar, it's kind of weird. It's with the Ring of Fire, but he's under the TYT network, so I don't know how that works. But hey. But some of you know him from The Majority Report. That's his show. He's been doing it for a long time. From what I understand, he was in a movie with Mel Gibson or something. He was a radio guy then or something back in like the 90s. And yeah, look, Sam and I had some disagreements about some fundamental issues concerning politics and concerning changing what I think needs to change, right? And my whole issue for calling up really was why is he beating up on Jimmy Dore, and why aren't independent media, why we focus on each other? Let's focus on the big fish to fry. And we need to stop parroting mainstream media talking points. That was it. But it wasn't really, I wanted to have that be part of the conversation, but then get to the broader conversation that we need to know who our enemies are, and let's go after them. And right now, the prize is information, because I believe most people are just misinformed or ill-informed or uninformed, right? That's what I believe is the biggest chunk of the American public. And if we can somehow inform people, we can change their perspective. We can change our country. You can change your city. You can change your school board. You can change so much if people became informed, but we can't inform people because we don't have the awareness unless we spur it out. And if we have people who have platforms and they're focused on repeating whatever Rachel Maddow says or whatever A.M. Joy Reid says, well, that's defeating the purpose of independent media. And it's somewhat arrogant of me, I got to admit, to feel that I can have any influence over what this person does with their platform. But since he accepted and said, yeah, you can call up and we could talk about it, so then it wasn't arrogant, right? Because he accepted. And I thought he valued that discussion. But when I got on the phone, first of all, they had my phone turned down low. My phone works fine, y'all. So people couldn't hardly hear me sometimes. I know a couple of my friends said, Tim, you know, it's not good to call into someone's show. It's not like when you call in my show, your volume be up higher than mine, Like, I want you to hear. I want them to hear you when you call in the show. So anyway, watch the video. I did a rebuttal to it only because I felt like I got cut off so many times. I was entitled to make my points. And if you're going to cut me off at different junctures and talk over me and you and your guy in the back make jokes while I try to make points, well then I can make another video, at least another video, where I can kind of highlight a couple of things that I saw. So, so that's what I did. I made a video. So, yeah, I followed up. I got my word out. I said what was on my mind, I did that. So yeah, but look. The only thing I regret is telling people not to subscribe to Sam Cedar, because that ain't my call, man. I should never tell somebody not to subscribe to someone. I was just guys, look, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be totally honest as always, right? I always try to keep it real, but I'm gonna be blunt is what I should say. Not honest, but blunt, right? It's wrong to tell people not to subscribe to people or to unsubscribe. But I was so pissed that this man sat up there and said he saw that Rachel Maddow. He said Rachel Maddow was wrong about the impeach Trump stuff, that it would never happen, it's a waste of time. When I said, why don't you call that out? He had this long explanation that only came back to him, his personal agenda. And see, I felt that was wrong. If you could call out a friend of mine, Jimmy Dore, weekly, right? Because you disagree with him, why can't you call out Rachel Maddow? Especially when you say she's lying every day, almost every day. If it's not Joy Reid, it's Rachel Maddow. If it's not them, it's, I don't know, Chris Matthews. It's somebody in mainstream media continuing a lot of people trying to scare them to give money to the Democrats by saying Putin runs the country. And we got to push back on that nonsense because it's in the way of progress. It's in the way of galvanizing around real issues. So if you say you care about healthcare, and I care about healthcare, right? But if you say you care about that, then let's get these corporate hacks to stop talking about nonsense, and let's hit them for that, and let's open people's minds up to the real issues. But if you're going to take time on your platform to go at other commentators, at least go at the people with the biggest audiences that are doing the most lying. Because you may disagree with an independent media person on certain things. How are you going to let these people pass who lie every day about Russia? There is no evidence that Russia made Hillary lose. There's no evidence that Russia and Trump worked together. If it was, he'd be impeached by now. They're starting to back away from that too. So, as a rule, I try not to say, hey, guys, unfollow or some crap, because that's wrong. I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me. Our issue is between us. But when I feel like you're just like misleading people, it's one thing to be wrong. Hell, I've been wrong. I've admitted times I've been wrong. If I'm wrong about something and you bring it to my attention and I agree with you, I'll admit I'm wrong. I'll be like, hey guys, my bad. Hey, my bad. I know Jamal Thomas recently, he did a video, something about Bernie he did, and he got something wrong. And I know like the next day, he put out a video saying, hey guys, I screwed up. I made a mistake. You know, my bad. I didn't mean to. I got it. I'm correcting myself. I love that, right? And that's why I work with Jamal, because Jamal, I just got a sense about him as a human being that he's just a real, authentic person. Plus, we need different types of voices. And I love his tact. Yeah. So, well, let me see if I can do it. Okay. So, what we're saying, it doesn't make sense to me that we have people that would vote for illegal regime change wars, and then have the audacity, unmitigated audacity, to pretend that they are for the people. They're not for the people. I don't understand. It's hilarious. It's really hilarious. It's hilarious. Give it up for Jamal Thomas. Jamal, that was my closest Jamal Thomas imitation, man. But when he gets on a roll, like, I'm like, hey, man, just do you, Jay, because you are killing it. The way he can run through his points and hit all these cues is amazing. So I'm glad. I'm very happy to work with him, and I'm very proud of what he's doing. Even when I disagree, I agree with his right to say it. And go, Jay. Go, my brother. Go. So, yeah, man. So that's what happened with Sam Cedar, and it's not that real big a deal. Nico House hit me up today. Give it up for Nico House. Nico, woo! So Nico House hit me up today. He said, Tim, there's been a lot of conversation surrounding Bernie Sanders and something about donations or something about he gave $100,000 to the DNC for the Unity tour or something like that, and his reason or something, it was like some type of regulation, he had to disclose it, and it had to do with campaigning, and he said the purposes was campaigning. So I'm like, okay. So it came out a bucket where his campaign money is, and he said the reason he gave the money was for campaigning. Get what I'm going? So the senator from Vermont may be campaigning for a run in 2020? I don't know. Which brings up a whole nother level of scrutiny or perception on the things people do, the things people don't do, why they do it, the whole thing, right? Whole thing. So I don't know. Like, is there a strategy behind what he's doing because he's looking at a 2020 bid? I don't know. But what I do know is that people are like, Tim Black, you got to do a video because Bernie Sanders has not endorsed Tim Canova. He hasn't endorsed Tim Canova. And people are upset about it. They're like, Tim, you need to do a video on it. So I'm just going to talk about it right now because I don't have all the facts. I read a couple of articles, one on the Hill, the other in the Miami Herald, that said that Bernie Sanders, his comment was, I don't know about Tim. Honestly, I don't know. And from that, they say that means he's not going to endorse him. Now, Tim Canova announced his candidacy to unseat Debbie Wasserman Schultz like a week ago, right? And don't get me wrong, I love Tim Canova, I'm not only just a supporter of Tim Canova, also met the human being, talked to him. He's a great guy, and I know his heart's in the right place. And he's a far cry better than Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And I also know a lot of people that worked on the campaign for Tim Canova and who are now working on the campaign, who are great friends, and their heart's in the right place, and they want the same things that I think we all want, which is a better Florida, better representation in Congress, and all around less corruption in our political landscape. So, like, I'm all for Tim Canova, right? Here's my only thing. I don't know if it's time yet to come down on Bernie for not endorsing Tim Canova. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. I need to look into it. When is the time for you to announce these things? And is there anything going on with Tim Canova that would give Bernie Sanders pause? Or is there anything going on with Bernie Sanders that would give him pause? So, like, nobody's considering any of these things I'm saying. I don't believe they are. I'm considering it, so I can't say no one. Some of the people that contacted me about Bernie not endorsing Tim Canova yet, they didn't have any patience, right? They're like, he need to do it yesterday. Get out there and endorse him, you know? And all I'm saying is I don't know enough yet to know if it's late, if it's too early, if there's some conditions, if it's a situation, if they had an argument over the last couple of months. If you don't know, like, things happen. I don't know. Like, Tim Canova and Bernie Sanders know each other intimately. Like, they work together, right? Like, there's a couple of bills, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember, where Tim Canova helped him in a couple of some legislation. They know each other, right? So I don't know. Maybe Tim didn't come over for a dinner. I don't know. Like, I don't know. So look, but what I will do, folks, is I will update you once I get some information, and I'm going to call it like I see it, right? I will have an opinion on it based on me getting a little bit more information. As of now, I'm not so ready to say it's foul play, people aren't living up to their ethics. I'm not ready to say that just yet. But if I feel that way in another couple days, then I will. And look, guys. Hey, look, we're already live. Hey, Mike, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. Is it okay if I'm just here on audio, or do I have to come up with the face?
I'm actually live on the air, and they see you right now, Mike.
Well, I just tried to cut that out, hoping that they wouldn't see me. So
now they don't. Mike, man, we do video shows now. I don't do call-ins like on the regular phone unless I have to.
Well, let's do that. I'll just be all unprofessional sitting on my bed.
I love it, man. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to announce, and look, consider everything I did so far a warm-up. That was just a warm-up. You know what I mean? I was warming you up and talking to the audience. I was my own opening act. Look, guys, I'm really happy to introduce a return guest on the show who I have nothing but the utmost respect for. He's a former Baltimore police officer, also a veteran. He's also, I'd like to call him an activist in a way. What he did with Standing Rock with the other veterans that went down there to defend the water protectors and help shed light on that issue. It's just what we're all about. It's what we support. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend and yours, Michael A. Wood. Give it up for Michael A. Wood, y'all.
Yay, fake clap. And we actually didn't have the S on there, so that's great. I'm actually being called by my proper name, which is new.
That'll work, man. That'll work. I want to check with these people, make sure they can hear you. Hey, guys, can you hear Michael okay? Everything cool? They said, you know, they see you. Somebody just called you cute, Michael. So, yeah, that's a compliment.
Oh, thanks. I mean, I got to say right away, like, I'm totally an activist. Like, don't even, like, hesitate for that. Absolutely, I am.
That's what's up.
I'm an activist for justice or truth or whatever we want to call it. We can break that down. But, I mean, I hope that sometimes what I'm doing is like what you're doing and just trying to get people to think about what's happening. I love the piece you did. I mean, well, that last night you did with Sam Cedar. And I'm really seeing this too. It's really being hard for us to navigate this activism space because these people that call ourselves allies, they're not allies. That is the enemy. That is the wolf in sheep's clothing. And like, I would rather the wolf like let me know it's a wolf than pretend it's something else.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Like, if you're not my friend, I'd rather know up front if there's a way to know. Like, be honest. Just tell me where you stand. And that's why sometimes, Michael, I like that. Like, look, I get along better sometimes with the Republicans who don't like me. That's cool. At least I know, like, hey, okay, so we disagree on a whole lot of stuff. But you know what I mean? At least you're keeping it real. Don't pretend that, this is, that you're liberal if you're not. Don't pretend that you're progressive if you're not. Just be real. It's okay.
Yeah, totally. So what are we going to get into? Are we breaking down policing? Are we breaking down these reform efforts and how they don't actually do anything? Like, I'm being constantly hounded about how if we get body cameras on cops, suddenly that's going to change the world, or whatever this reform measure is acting within the system, that we just keep believing that if somebody can give us an oppressive regime, as long as we operate within that regime and play along, somehow we're going to get a different end result. It's absolutely baffling.
Yeah, all of that you just said. In fact, I know when we talked, you probably like, dang, Tim doesn't, I don't know if Tim really gets all this stuff. And frankly, I thought that some of those measures would help, bro. But now I'm seeing that it's going to take more. I need to know more about civilian-led policing, which we'll get to. So Michael, civilian-led policing, let's get to it now. I'm excited about it. I talked to Avi. He broke it down for me. Please explain to these folks what civilian-led policing is, because I believe, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that this is a true remedy for what we're dealing with in my policing when we see these shootings that we don't like, that we think are unjust. So, Michael, could you explain what that is?
I mean, so let's just, first we have to understand what the current system is. And I'm going to throw it out at people really fast in a way that they're going to be like, what is this guy talking about? So I happen to have been a cop. Everybody thinks like my knowledge comes from being a cop. I just happen to have been a cop, and I went into criminal justice and went into management and know how policing actually is because I was, and then put that against my education. So as I went through and was trying to figure out what policing should be, I suddenly realized that if you trace the data back, it's like, oh, wait, what is this system that we're talking about? Well, what it is it's modern policing evolved in America from three different things, because that's what we built our country upon, and that's how we built our policing. And that is, step one is the creation and maintenance of an oppressed class, and then the extraction of resources from that oppressed class to fuel their very own oppression to begin with. And what that looks like in modern form is somebody gets a ticket for $25 because the police went into their neighborhood, and now they look for loiterers and they have to justify their stats. So they end up getting stats, and then somebody goes into a bail system. They can't afford bail. So you just end up in this cycle where you have no choice but to end up in prison, because we actually have a debtor's prison and everything else now. And the way this looks in modern form, we can take it straight to Baltimore, would look like Freddie Gray running from the police and being chased down for absolutely no reason, and then being killed. And what happens is step two, the protection of elite property. And when you see the protection of elite property, that looks like the police lined up around the CVS in Baltimore, when the whole time the only person that ever died during the uprising in Baltimore was Freddie Gray. So the creation and maintenance of the slave class was preserved, the protection of elite property was preserved, and nothing was actually done. The third thing that policing does is the continued genocide of the Native American nations. And we will see that can completely encapsulate it in Standing Rock, where you have state-sanctioned agents who are being paid by those taxpayers and therefore funding their very oppression to pay for police officers who will then go out and act in the interest of energy transfer partners, not in the people that they're actually sworn to protect and serve. Because the real difference is that the protect and serve means the plutocracy. It means a mayor. It means four-year goals. It is not aligned or structured or incentivized whatsoever for you and to protect and serve you. So if we can get past understanding and with all the evidence in place, policing does not serve you. You have to understand that, and then move on. So what do we do to fix that? Well, what I'm telling you is everybody has lots of great ideas, and we want to investigate stuff. but we don't have any data and we don't have any evidence on what that looks like because a table was never built to put your ideas on. So I figured, how do we build a table to even discuss body cams properly and how we would use them? So I looked at management, and there's a whole bunch of comparisons that we can use, and it's corporate social responsibility theory to a stakeholder theory built in with developing a consensus from Delphi interview techniques. Now, if you are a freaking PhD and you're into that kind of stuff, you're going to know exactly what I just said. But for everybody else that doesn't care about nerdy stuff like that, it just means that you're in charge. So if you look at a modern company like Exxon, they are out there killing it. And the way they are structured is that they have a board of their stakeholders, their shareholders that are on top of the board, and they tell a CEO what to do. And then the CEO properly manages that through a whole bunch of different means. That is the table that enables Exxon to go and become a global company and absolutely dominate and serve the interests of their shareholders. So what I'm trying to do is move that principle over to policing, make that police department something that you own, that you will now serve, and that you tell the CEO what to do, and you're not serving the interest of a mayor that has 4-year goals or any other members of the plutocracy. So we don't have to get into the weeds of what plans will work. What I'm trying to tell you is you don't have a table to put your plans on. So I'm trying to give you a table that everyone can hear you and have your ideas on, which means you actually being in power and cutting out the mayor and being a board on top of the police chief who runs or a CEO who runs that business, like that police department, like a business, and their fuel is your direction and your guidance. That's the easiest way I can sum it up.
Wow. Like when I looked at the charts that were, and look guys, you can go find this too. Michael A. Wood Jr. on Twitter is where you go. It's his pinned tweet, and it just, like, at first it was like seemed almost unbelievable because it breaks every known police activity, like the way that, you know, policemen's or policing's done in America. Like, it's totally opposite. It's like the people are on top of it and they're making the decisions. They're directing policemen almost as if the policemen actually work for the people.
It's a radical concept, right? You know, people say that to me like, oh, well, this is radical. No, it's going to be so hard to get involved. I'm like, you mean the people pay for you, actually, that you pay for it, will actually listen to you? And that's radical? I don't see what at all is radical about that.
Yeah, because I know that other people have talked about citizens review boards, but if they don't have any power and the police know, we don't really work for you, and we got the unions, and we got to listen to you. Like, there's no teeth in a civilian review board. It's after the fact, and it's kind of like, I don't know, like I look at it like a community meeting type of thing.
I would argue that it's more dangerous, Tim, because what you're doing there is you're judging the output. So the officers has incentives and has boss and command members that are telling them what to do. And that's all they do. They're pawns in a system. They're employees like any other employee in any other company. And it's just a really shitty company with some really immoral policies. So we can shift those things and people will work for the policies that are in place. It's simply human nature. So what happens when you have a board is you are judging the outcome and the punishment of the officer, but you're never judging the incentivization. So someone else is telling them that they'll get $100 every time they do a certain thing. And then the one time they get caught doing that and you have a problem with it, you can possibly punish them. And then that puts the officer in between the command staff and the people that they want to serve. So even if they want to serve you, they can't. They do not have a system that enables them to serve you without you telling them what to do. You can't. I mean, it's like a kid that goes in and somebody says, go eat breakfast. And he goes in there and he eats cereal. And then someone else comes behind him and beats the crap out of him. It's like, no, I told you to eat eggs. And he's like, every single person in this house told me to eat cereal. So there's no way you're completely trapped without controlling the entire cycle yourself and mitigating things like gentrification and power imbalances, because this is what we're talking about, is shifting the power balance, really nothing else other than that.
Because and what you brought up just reminds me of the only question that we got that I think I want to address to you, because I let people know. I said, hey, Michael A. Wood's coming on the show. They said, well, what can we do to help police officers, good police officers, to be able to turn in bad police officers? Like, we need to help these people be able to do this. And when I listen to your model, it like kind of takes that off the table. What do you think?
Well, I don't think it becomes relevant in the new system because you have employees that are being incentivized to do something that they want to do. So right now, say you are brutal and you want adrenaline. Like I joined policing for a large part for the idea of the adrenaline chase. I love doing car chases. I love doing extreme sports. I loved all that stuff. So I wanted the thrill element to it. Now, if the job was solely going out and catering to Miss Jones's needs, but I have been a cop, I don't know. I might not have chosen to do that because that's not what the job was. What the job is car chases and going after guns and doing these aggressive things. So we would be changing policing so much that it really isn't policing anymore. We're completely redefining it. I really think that this should be done from a public health aspect. It should be started all over from scratch. This really is the compromise because what I'm saying is this is the wrong way to do it. But we already have this police department. We already have this thing structured, budgeted. It's already a system that's in place. So we can fix this instead of trying to argue with everybody to start from scratch. We can kind of mold this into something since the resources are in place.
Police Services Department. I wrote a note after I was talking to Avi, and that really stuck out to me. Could you explain what Police Services Department is, how that functions in your model?
Well, I mean, we have to think about what are police services. So police services in our minds as humans, we say, well, when somebody robs a bank, we don't want to be robbed in the bank. So we want the police to do something. And right now, what police do is they go out and they investigate the details of a crime and try to find some way to put someone in prison. And here's the really kicker. Deterrence and prison and punishment, none of that shit works. I'm sorry, but it's just human nature. I can't explain to you why, if you say to somebody that you're going to put them in prison for 10 years, that they'll still commit a crime if they really need to. Well, I mean, I'm going to go with this because they really need it to, but I don't know the psychology behind it. All I know is the end result is that people will commit crimes for reasons that don't have anything to do with whether or not they're going to get punished. So we have to look at why the person committed the crime. So police services would be what you want a detective to do, and that is to figure out how to prevent you or your child or your mother or sister from becoming a bank robbery victim and being in the room when that happens. So to do that, we have to figure out the causations of crime. And the biggest causation of crime that we have in the entire scientific literature and everything that we know is lead poisoning and other environmental poisonings. So police services would be fighting lead poisoning as the number one goal in ending the drug war, because this is changing the paradigm of what policing is. When in the current idea, policing is always violence. So like I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and he said, it's not comply or die. And I said, no, you're dead wrong. The law is comply or die. From anything from a loitering ticket, eventually it could take years, but eventually that ends in you either do what the state says or you will die. And that is not the definition of policing that we can have.
Amazing, amazing. You know, comply or die. You know, that brings up Philando Castile, and that brings up that whole situation. I didn't want to spend too much time on it, though I wanted people to imagine a way that we could avoid more Philando Castiles. And this model, which incentivized police officers to de-escalate situations, because look, he got pulled over how many times? Michael, you know the story way better than me. He got pulled over like 40 times, I don't know, some crazy number of times, and it's like that was his life. It was like he was hunted almost. And finally, he got killed by the hunter.
Yeah, I mean, totally. That's what it looks like. But I'm going to change that a little bit. And I don't know why we have people with guns doing car stops. So that would be the first question I would ask you when we have this idea in policing that there's no such thing as a routine car stop. Bullshit. 99.9999999% of car stops are completely routine and nothing happens, just like 99.9999999% of parking tickets are issued without a problem, and parking control agents don't run around carrying guns. So I want to know why there's a gun at all around Philando Castile, his daughter, and his girlfriend in that scenario. That's what my problem is. And I would argue that we do not have people with guns pulling over cars for traffic violations.
See, guys, this it really changes your brain. First of all, is wired one way, right? It makes sense what Michael's saying, but it's like it really has to seep in that hold up, this is logical. He's right. It's like, if it's really that rare, why are we armed? Just having the presence of the gun, the officer with the gun, if you didn't have that, then you would mitigate the opportunity for there to be violence or there to be death at a traffic stop. Now, I know that on the devil's advocate side, people will say, well, what about that 1% chance when you got the nutcase or the guy who's, running from the cops, you don't know it, and he's thinking he's going to go back to jail, so now the officer's in danger, which is sort of like what a lot of people get their bread and butter on when they talk about, about, I don't know, law and order police or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case and that's our actual philosophical basis, then we need to allow taxi cab drivers to have guns because their job is incredibly more dangerous than a police officer's job. So if the basis of your opinions are true and the methodology, then you need to be able to apply that all the way around. And I don't think people are going to make the argument that taxi cab drivers should have guns because their job is much more dangerous than a cop's job.
That's right. Or window washers, or the guy on the deep sea fishing, or like there's a lot.
The other thing I want to tell you, everybody, is spending all this time. When I go around and people are like, "Oh, you're a cop in Baltimore," they're like, "Oh my gosh, it was so dangerous," and I'm always like, "No, like everyone tried to get away. Like I don't know what you guys think policing is, but you're chasing people because they don't want to be around you. It's really easy to not get hurt. You just do what 75% of cops do, and that's jack shit and nothing but collect a paycheck. We forget that part. There, a good portion of cops don't do anything at all, but waste your tax dollars. And then the other 25% are misled in how they're trying to even fight for you anyway.
Man, you must get invited to a lot of the police parties.
Well, a lot of cops that came up around me, I don't think that they're surprised in the least bit. And I don't get pushback from cops. Cops do want this. And even if they don't want this, their wives want this. The appeal is incredibly easy. Like, I don't want you going in and kicking in somebody's door over a bag of weed and $15 of something. Like, that's preposterous. And we shouldn't be risking your husband's or wife's life to do that because of a stupid job that has no outcome that's going to come forward. Like, look, everybody that worries about what are we going to do with police and we need shit kickers. Yeah, you need people like me that are going to go in and enjoy the adrenaline, kick in a door, be the first one in, be ready to shoot and be calm and do all those things you want. But for God's sakes, keep us away from everybody else. Like, you only call us in when that's the scenario. Like, if you want to call, like, yes, you need people on the wall to stand there when you need, and I'd love doing that shit. But I'm well aware that means you don't have me handle whether your 5-year-old child is going to school or not, or wondering about how to handle a very delicate mental health issue. Like, I'm not capable of that. I'm a fucking shit kicker. I'm going to kick in the door and throw everybody on the ground and get people in handcuffs and do what I have to do. Now, that's needed from time to time, but it's really rare.
Yeah, recently there was a story, I think it was in Seattle, where Charlena Lyles, I think that's her name, and she had an interaction with cops like the earlier week where she picked up some scissors, the domestic violence call, and then they come again, and this time they knew who she was, so they brought an extra officer, and she said she was reporting a robbery. I think someone stole her Xbox, her boyfriend or something, and ends up, well, I think she picked up a knife again, and this time officers weren't trying to talk her down. Both officers fired on her, and she's like 100 pounds soaking wet in her own home, so I don't know.
Well, I think we have to understand that heroes are the ones that hesitate to pull the trigger. And that's a thing that I've said a bunch of times, and it sounds like a radio quip, but I never had the concept. I've faced situations like that before. I mean, let's face it, that old lady, worst case scenario, I take a cut. Yeah, I'm a cop. You call me a hero, and I'm supposed to serve, and my life is supposed to be less valuable than those I'm serving. So yeah, I might get cut. I might get a few injuries here and there. That's what I signed up for. So if you're not cut out for it, don't do it.
Well, Michael, you're from a background of you're military. You weren't just a guy in the military. Like, you were one of the people that went in and did stuff. Like please explain your background, your veteran background.
Oh, come on. I was in the Marine Corps from 97 to 2001, and I was pretty much just on a SWAT team that focused on being really skilled and clean at doing things like house raids and urban combat.
You say that like it's nothing. I thought about going in, man, but I was going to be a computer expert. Like, totally different.
No, my dumb ass talked to the recruiter, and I saw a thing in and the magazine that they had guys rappelling off of helicopters onto ships. And I was like, what are those guys doing? And they're like, that's fast team, and you got to do this and that. You had to be in the infantry, and you have to go. I was an assaultman, so demolitions and like anti-tank. So I had to go to that school first, and then close quarters, and then you go to security forces. And I got exactly what I wanted out of the Marine Corps, so I can't say they ever deceived me at all.
It's still, you're right. I mean, I've known guys like that. We used to call it, had a lot of run in them, you know. I got a lot of run in me, you know. I like to run and gun, you know. And hey, look, and that's right. That's for certain instances. Like if we got I don't know, we got a terrorist issue. We got a kidnapping, you know, I don't know. Somebody's holed up in a bank, or someone's holed up. We got a home invader, and he's got the people in there. He's got a gun. Yeah, we don't want the guy that's like writing tickets with no gun going in. We want Michael Wood type guys to go in, and guys who like to run and gun. That's when we need them.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. I feel sad. I mean, and it's a personality thing. I kind of get worried about what will the science tell us that we actually need for police to be? Because like, what if we just need some like psychopath that's not actually, going to be emotionally like wrapped up in the scenario, because the only way you can stay calm is to not let those things affect you in that moment. So who knows on what we actually need for those moments, but we need to look at them scientifically and say, what do we need? What should we have around our children? Like today, a 17-year-old child was shot and killed because the cop was shooting at a dog in an urban environment. And no, like, this is where when people say things like, why didn't they shoot him in the leg and stuff like that? This is exactly why. You do not shoot anywhere in an urban environment with concrete, with a backdrop you can't predict. When a bullet hits a sidewalk, it can go in any direction whatsoever. So you shouldn't ever be shooting at a dog and pulling a trigger at a dog anywhere near a sidewalk or any kind of backdrop like that. If you get bitten by a pit bull in the arm, as a cop, we'll take that bite and then shoot the dog. You do not endanger everybody else. Like, you just can't be that person. So we have to look at what that type of person is. And I think that's a seriously rare person. So how about we don't have people doing that stuff?
Absolutely. And you're right. I was going to cover that story. And an officer got shot too. Now, he's okay. He was just wounded in the leg. But still, yeah, he could have hurt even more people. And it's my condolences to the family of that 17-year-old who was killed for no reason. No reason.
And that's why I think about cops being around your children in schools and things like that. Like, all these things we have to incredibly redefine. If do you really want a gun around your children in school, when we know empirically that the presence of any gun, whether it's a cop or not, makes everyone more dangerous? So think about that. Here's a statistical fact. If you call the police right now and an armed person comes to your house and you have children, you have just endangered their life. And we know this without a question. So it's not, don't call the police. That's the wrong answer. The right answer is, don't have somebody with a gun come into a house and endanger people like that.
I tell you guys, it just keeps getting more real. And your brain, just like I said, I hope some people are kind of, warming up to the idea that we just need to change our policing. It's not about bad apples. Maybe Michael would disagree with me, but I don't think it's about bad apples. I think it's about the tree and the forest that we plant the tree in.
Yeah, I call it a rotten barrel, but you can say a poisoned forest, and therefore all the fruit is poisonous as well. All those kind of analogies work. And I get into that a lot because of those three things that policing has done. And then that barrel has been seasoned with the mass incarceration bill, with the drug war, with redlining, with environmental poisoning. All those things have continued to make that barrel worse and worse as time has gone on. So you cannot put an apple in that barrel. I really thought, I don't think I've ever acted my entire life with malice towards somebody. And despite that, for 11 years in the police department, my actions were completely racist and were structured to oppress people. I had no intent of doing that. It's a system that does that. So no matter how good that apple was you put into that barrel, it cannot achieve goodness. And so we have to make a barrel that no matter how bad of an apple I put in it, it will achieve goodness, because the barrel is so good. The whole thing has to be flipped, because I don't care if a cop is racist. People want to know, we have to have tests and know whether they're racist or not. I mean, that sounds okay, but I'm not really into that. I don't care if they love everything about Hitler, as long as they go out onto the streets and they treat everybody with the utmost empathy and respect because the system made them that way. I don't give a damn. I just need them to treat you the proper way.
I love that. I love that that viewpoint. I really do, because I think that's really all it's about. It's about how do they function in their job? Do they do their job the right way? And if the people get to decide. So let's go a little bit further into how these panels or how this board. Can anybody be on the board? Like, how do you get on the board? I want to be on the board, Michael. What do I do?
Well, fundamentally, because remember, I say this is a table. So as far as my table, I'm going to put ideas on that table, but they ultimately come from you and from professors that will probably know more about this stuff than I do. But what I have down is the best plan that I can come up with so far actually isn't my plan. So it comes from this entire concept in our own micro application in Baltimore, where I constantly ask people to give me their ideas on what will help fix things. And I come off harsh on this because I don't want to listen to the people when it comes to how to do this system. And that sounds like I'm not listening to the people. And I'm listening to the people and the outcomes they want. I know how the system works. You don't. So let me explain the systems to you, and then we can figure out how to make that arrive at the outcomes that you want. So I was talking to Dwayne Davis in front of the CVS in Baltimore and an anniversary event or something like that we were having. And this question was perplexing me. I couldn't figure out how to not get the board corrupted. And his basic premise was that you do a jury pool, but you have a qualification into it. And then you have a system that gives the shareholders that we had, whichever ones are the biggest shareholders, they have the most influence in what happens in the police department. And by influence or shareholders, we mean who gets the most police attention. So that means you, and right now that would mean a black neighborhood in Baltimore, East and West Baltimore, would get the most say in the board and be most likely to be selected for the board because they are the premier stockholder in Baltimore on the services received of policing. So that's one mitigating effect that we have. Another mitigating effect is I don't care what you know about a whole bunch of other things. All I care about is that you know how to arrive at truth. And that's the biggest issue we have. I was really struck by this in education because I didn't learn how to think until I was in year 2 of my PhD. And that's really weird. I was like, shouldn't this have been classes I received in like middle school? Why are you now teaching me critical thinking and the scientific method in depth when I'm in year 20 some of school? This is ridiculous. So what I want to do is develop like an MIT program where they can just go online and have to do a pretty hard month-long class on critical thinking. And that's all I care, is that I can get you to arrive at truth, and that's a prerequisite that goes in. Beyond that, I really don't care. There's other mitigating effects. Like I think it's a full-time job with 2-year terms, so you have a cycle. But I think the salary should be set at around $80,000 to $100,000. That way, you're really incentivizing poor people to take interest in this because this is a career boost. And you're also making it so that people that make $250,000 a year have no desire to serve on this damn board. And that's somebody that we don't want to have influencing the board. We want the actual shareholders, not necessarily the investors, neither, because just because they were forced to pay doesn't mean they get the most say in it. It's who actually receives the services. So there's a bunch of other things that we can do about this, but it's really basically a jury pool of voluntary people with an equitable manner of putting whoever receives the most attention from police more likely to be on the board. So they're not going to dominate the board, but they'll be weighted to be more likely on the board.
Another brain-altering concept, bro. Another brain-altering concept, because you know how local politics work, and that's the first thing I went to mentally. Like, okay, the guy, he knows this guy, he wants a favor from this person, and everything gets skewed because you have people trying to do favors and trying to get kickbacks or what have you. This model sounds so interesting. What have you started a pilot program yet? And is there a pilot yet, or what? Are we working towards it?
I really think we should think about that differently. This should always be a pilot. That is the scientific method. Every 5 years to 10 years, I want this thing to be totally redone from scratch because the things change. And that, we have a lot of laws that just don't make any sense, or the way we do things that don't make any sense. And then if we use legislation to fix those things, we'll never get there. It won't move fast enough. So we have to, the Delphi interview technique is when you get with the shareholders and you go through to each and every one to build consensus. So the way the whole process is developed is, say you have a group, just use Baltimore because I'm so familiar with it, but like you have the idea of West Baltimore, which is the neighborhood where Freddie Gray grew up in. So if you have a neighborhood like that, they will, where was I even going with that, Tim? What was the original question?
A pilot program. Yeah.
Oh, pilot program. Okay. So if you have them developing their pilot program, and they meet with the shareholder, the CEO, and then they're going to have their input. So then you go to the next group and you start to fill it. And then you have a cycle. You go through everybody at least 3 times and you kind of refine it till everybody's in a consensus to what we will try. And then we go and try that. And we take lessons and we learn and we document what happened. And in 5 to 10 years, we come back and we do the whole thing over again, completely going back because our shareholders will have changed. Everything is going to change in those 5 to 10 years because there's other influences like a government can still be bad and they're still going to be corrupt. So they're going to still do things like give $700 million to Kevin Plank to totally gentrify Baltimore while extracting resources out of the poor as well. So we have to mitigate those effects by having this army work for you, because once you're really in control, you can think about it broadly. Like we say, well, how could we mitigate lead poisoning? Well, once you turn your detectives onto the landlords and the people who poison the land, well, we're at least going to be doing civil actions to go ahead and get the funds done so we can do it. And I mean, yeah, punishment doesn't work, but if you poisoned our children, I'm willing to swallow that pill and let you go ahead and put those people.
I feel you.
So, and like even the prison system is still going to be corrupt. So we can mitigate that. We can arrest people on a local level, and we do not have to send them to the feds or to the state to put them in a prison. We can Barney Fife this bad boy, go ahead and take an old reclaimed building, and we can put people in temporary thing that's much more humane and tries to achieve the goals that we're looking to achieve, with something like, just say that you clean the neighborhood instead of going to jail for some minor offense, and we can mitigate the entire system. Like, if we really take control of this army on a local level, I don't know what you can't fight.
You know, guys, I know, audience, I know you're freaking out. You're like, what is this? This is, imagine, no more set it and forget it, which is pretty much what we do, right? Like we used to do this. We've been doing it this way since 1910. Yeah, it's, it's a new, you don't think you want to update it every 100 years? So like the whole idea that this is a moving thing. This is a moving, adapting, modifying, looking at the data constantly to see where we are, how this work out. Should we, modify this? Can we do this better? The whole idea is just so damn refreshing, Michael.
Oh, well, thanks. I mean, but think about like you and 6 other people and me. And that's what we're talking about doing. We have these arguments, we have these discussions. And do you really think anyone out there that if 7 of you and me are sitting in here talking in a room that we're going to come up with crazy ideas like lock your children up and put them up in solitary confinement and leave them in prison for 3 years in Rikers Island so you can mentally destroy them, so that trauma makes somebody like Khalif Browder end his life to end the suffering of what we did to somebody that was never even convicted of a crime and had no evidence against them? Like, morally, as human beings, we can't do this anymore. And the reason I'm an activist is I feel a moral imperative after Tamir Rice was killed. Like, I can't get over that. And like, I want to go back to white privilege. I want to go back to my retirement. I want to go back to all the advantages in life. And I can't do that until there's some kind of system here that makes sure Tamir is protected.
Another thing I want to point out to everyone is that, remember, police departments, and Michael's going to correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure, but they are autonomous, meaning it's not one central police department. So Michael could get this, he can implement this. Well, say he gets a mayor on board to this idea, this platform, this table, and this model, and we go with it and say Cincinnati, Ohio, I don't know, and it's successful. Well, it's going to happen if it has success, right? We're going to be able to replicate it. What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's going to happen. I really think once it happens, it snowballs. So the biggest worry that I have had has been a gentrification issue on the city that does this will end up attracting the people who want to be well policed. And the policing where I live here in Los Angeles, in this nice little white neighborhood, well, the police never mess with us or do anything at all. It's like they barely even speak to us. So they will end up clustering in those cities. And so I think we have to have like a 10-year minimum to be on that board, because I don't want people that are interested in that city in the long haul actually having a say.
Wow. Wow. What can people do, Michael? I guess we're at that point, unless there's some other points that you would like to bring out that I somehow didn't ask you questions for, that you would like to mention. I'd like to know, what can we do to get involved? How can people out there, because I know people are excited, they like the idea, they're willing to look further into it. What's up, Michael?
The best thing to do is go to civilianledpolicing.org and sign up to volunteer. I'm on the board of that group, but I kind of separate myself as much as possible. If this system works, it shouldn't require me. This really requires you guys, and in putting it in and seeing what you do. And every town is different. So there could be a radical mayor that wants to sign up for this, and that would be great. There are candidates right now. We have Steve Kling in Austin. We have some candidates in Miami. Oh gosh, there's a bunch of towns, but they work on that. I don't know all those details. I care about the science and trying to get people to understand why we should at least take a different path, because I'm never going to tell you this works. Like, I'm a scientist. The only thing I can do is tell you what doesn't work. And what I can tell you completely is that all this shit that we're doing does not work. So we need to at least eliminate the things that don't work so we can continue to try and move on to the next step. So whatever that is, even if you're wrong. So if you're out in there if you're in Dallas, Texas, and you want to go ahead and put in and you try a referendum and it doesn't work, well, great. You contributed to the data so that we know how to continue to do this going forward. That's what this is about. And in a big scheme, what we will do is continue to be a central repository of this data, so that nobody is bogarting information. We can have it so that best practices fuel everybody. And each time a town redoes their Delphi method and figures out what they need to restructure it for, that comes into the data for everybody, because we do not know what happens in policing now, because nobody shares the information and they don't report it. And even when we say, you'll hear fools say things like, oh, Black people commit the most crimes. No, that's not even what the stat says. The stat is Black people are charged with crimes the most. And that's really easy. I mean, if you're in a racist society, the idea of charging Black people with crimes the most is super easy to conceptualize, especially when we say we look at charging people with crimes because they are suspected, right? They have a past. Well, the past that we've arrived to in modern American policing started with the first citations in America were from Black runaway slaves going north. The Boston police would catch them, give them a citation, return them, say they're slave masters. So your first bit of data comes from slaves who did nothing wrong but tried to seek their freedom. We criminalized that and then said, well, they're criminals, so we're going to continue to look at them. And that has just grown until this time. So we don't know shit all about policing. No idea how it works in this country because we've never done it.
Sounds like I lost the audio there, Michael. I don't know. But
that's okay. Because if you hear me say I've never done it, we've never done it, then we're good.
It's all, hey, look, man. Hey, look, fantastic. Look, I want people to know, Michael, as you know, I talked to Avi today, and he's going around the country talking to people, getting people interested, getting feedback. I mean, this is an ongoing thing. This thing is going down. This is an actual remedy, a solution, a possible remedy solution, I should say, probably, to what we're doing now, which isn't working, as Michael just laid out for you. Listen, man, civilian-led policing, you can go to civilianledpolicing.org. Sign up. You get updates. You can find out what's happening. You can volunteer. You can donate. Any time of money you can give will be the difference in the efforts to what we're trying to accomplish. We want better policing. Let's not just get mad every time we hear someone getting shot. Let's not get mad just because of what we're getting in the media. Let's work towards an actual resolution, an actual solution, a possible solution that can correct the whole damn thing. And Michael, man, thank you so much for giving us time, brother, and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you, brother. It's an honor to be here with you. I love what you're doing, man. You're really a good thinker, and you're putting excellent thoughts out there. I love what you're doing.
I appreciate you, man. Look, guys, once again, go to civilianledpolicing.org. I'm your man, Tim Black. We'll be back tomorrow with Freedom Friday. Follow Michael A. Wood on Twitter, Michael A. Wood Jr. Leave the junior off if somebody else comes up. I don't know what's up with that. And look, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And like I always say, don't you let nobody take your cornbread. Stand up, stand tall, stand strong. I'll see you on the next one.
Tim
And
Black.
we are done.
Tim Black.